What is going on, guys? Welcome back to the channel. Critical Overload here. We're going to be talking about a few different horror topics in this video here today. We'll be talking about Scream 7. We'll be talking about Buffy the Vampire Slayer. We'll be talking about Insidious 6 really quick. We'll be talking about Jurassic World Rebirth. And we'll be talking about Until Dawn. Just want to clarify something about that upcoming movie. Starting off here with Scream 7. Scream 7 continues to grow. The cast at least continues to grow. And it looks like we have evidence of the film possibly including 3 kids for Sidney Prescott. In the scripts for 5, there were 3 mentioned. And I think it was even in a draft for 6 too. Don't really recall. But contrary to the beliefs of others, there is no explicit line of dialogue. There is no explicit line of dialogue that expresses Sidney has 3 kids present in Scream 5. It does not exist. It does not happen. This latest casting call, though, does make it seem like we are going with the triple threat route of children. It says, kids casting call, seeking 2 girls to portray children of our actress. Caucasian girls, siblings that are encouraged to submit, ages 6, looking younger, and then age 10 through 12. Obviously, my mind immediately goes to kids of Sidney for this. Now, the ages are what's getting me convinced of the 3-kid route. Isabel May is playing the rebellious daughter, Taylor, and now we're getting a 6-year-old to presumably play the stroller child present from 5, and then a 10 to 12-year-old for a middle child potentially, which could eliminate McKenna from being part of Sidney's family because McKenna is 18 years old. She does not strike me as a 12-year-old, but I don't see McKenna being that 12-year-old, especially with a casting call out like that. So she could be eliminated from being Sidney's daughter. So we also have this casting call looking for kids to play high schoolers in Marietta, Georgia. Now, shout out to UK, but if you guys Google Marietta, or if you're just familiar, maybe you live out there, it has so many spots in it that look like Woodsboro. Now, I'm not saying Scream 7 is in Woodsboro, but it's oddly ironic how some of these places look like Woodsboro. I doubt Sidney lives there. It's not too out of the realm of possibility that she just loved the aesthetic of Woodsboro, minus all the bloodshed and ghost faces running around. So she moved to a place very similar and reminiscent of her childhood home, which is Woodsboro. But now, of course, Ghostface is going to come and it's going to feel like home all over again in ways she didn't want. Now, let's talk about Buffy the Vampire Slayer. So Sarah Michelle Gellar is open to actually doing a Buffy Summer's Return at this point in a potential revival of the show, I guess. She revealed this on an episode of the Drew Barrymore show where she recently appeared to hype up the new Dexter show that just dropped that she's featured in. She said, "It's funny. I always used to say no because it's in this bubble and so perfect. But watching Sex in the City and seeing Dexter and realizing there are ways to do it, it definitely does get your mind thinking. I mean, it's a universe and it makes you realize that in this world, we need those heroes, I think more so than ever." Now, Sarah is absolutely correct in her assessment, but we don't have to do a revival with Buffy Summers right away. Granted, before this, she was completely not for playing Buffy and even suggested Zendaya being a good choice to carry on the legacy. I wouldn't mind seeing a Buffy return, but I would rather the universe just return and we get a new Slayer to start off with. Explore that universe in ways that make the episode of Chosen even more meaningful than it already is. Don't just go back to Buffy. Take advantage of the sacrifice she, the potentials, Faith, Spike, Willow, and everyone involved made to change the lives of so many young girls and women around the world. Toy with a narrative maybe involving a few who maybe took issue with the fact that they didn't consent to that spell that Willow did. I think my preferred narrative route is just a show exploring a new Slayer every season, and then we culminate with a final season that justifies every Slayer coming together, with maybe Buffy and Faith returning as well to take down whatever big bad it is. I just think it would be better off not to lean on the inclusion of Buffy Summers. Set up a show that stands on its own, figure out a narrative that can weave Buffy Summers back into it, and go about it that way. But I can understand that the immediate business tactic that one would try to use is start off with Buffy Summers and then maybe teeter off into seasons that focus on different Slayers around the world connected with Buffy. And then I guess you could wrap it all up with a big series finale or final season that brings Buffy back and all the Slayers we've been following with this final big bad, and they unite, and yeah, you could do something like that. Disney just announced something for Malcolm in the Middle, so I wouldn't be shocked if we hear something about Buffy sooner rather than later, because they never actually announced that the revival was canceled. It was just paused. And then Dolly Parton recently came out earlier this year and made comments about it as well. Now Sarah's open to actually doing it. which shocked me to even hear such a thing. But let's talk about Insidious 6. So a few weeks ago, whatever it is, shout out to everyone who's been telling me about it, Jeff Snyder reported that Insidious 6 will not be making its previously announced 2025 release date. And to that, I say no shit. I mean, it's not that shocking. Many of us were already noticing the project hasn't even announced a director yet. There's no one announced cast-wise. We don't even have an official confirmation that we aren't even going to be following the Lamberts just yet again, despite the last film, The Red Door, supposed to be their conclusion. No one is shocked about this. The levels of cricket surrounding this movie isn't normal for a project that's supposed to be dropping next year. Wasn't it supposed to drop next summer around August or so? I could be off. But it's not that shocking that Insidious 6 might not make it to its planned release date. The movie hasn't announced a damn thing. We haven't even gotten any official word on the Threads movie that's supposed to be connected to the Insidious world. So that's not shocking at all. Hopefully they can get their shit together and we can get Insidious 6 sooner rather than later, because I didn't mind The Red Door. I thought it was probably the weakest of the Lambert films, no doubt, but I didn't mind it. Now, let's talk about Jurassic World Rebirth. David Koepp, who is returning to write the upcoming Jurassic World Rebirth, made these recent comments about the movie on the Discourse podcast. He said, "I hope people like the movie because the series tended to change after 3 and it felt like, okay, so let's change our tone. Steven Spielberg and I were interested in a tone that was maybe more akin to the very first movie. I saw it early on as a mission movie. I like things that are driven by bottles, by containment, you know? And so developing a limited team and a thing that they have to accomplish, that was all really fun. And it was just fun to return to that world of great adventure backed by real science and write some cool new characters. You don't often get a chance to have a blank slate and say, what do you want to do? I mean, I'll tell you what many of us want you to do. Just make a movie that is better than Jurassic World Dominion. What Dominion did still, in my mind, doesn't even make sense. How do you set up what you have in Fallen Kingdom and then proceed to make a movie that has almost nothing to do with what was set up at the end of Fallen Kingdom? There's mentions of it, and I think we get news reports about it at the very start, but then we shift to a giant bug problem or something like that. It's been a while since I watched that movie, but it's a complete waste of the legacy cast as far as I'm concerned. It was nice seeing them again, yes, but Jurassic World Dominion was a step in the wrong direction. So all I really want you to do is just make something that is not on the same level as Dominion. Now, let's talk about Until Dawn. That is what we will conclude this video on today. We're going to talk about the character of Dr. Hill because he is going to be back. That's already been announced. That's official. His inclusion, though, allegedly isn't what you guys expect. The character is rumored to be working at a gas station or a store of sorts instead of being a psychiatrist. So he's not going to be a psychiatrist in this movie, but he does still have a pretty significant role in what's happening. That's all I will say about that. I realize all of these changes are making many folks not excited, especially if you're someone who loves the game like myself. You're not looking forward to all of these changes. You find it a bit disrespectful. You're perplexed. You're confused as to why this movie is even called Until Dawn, and I completely understand where you're coming from because I myself think you could have done the same thing. A movie that, again, is a blend between The Cabin in the Woods, Ready or Not, and you could have just called it something else. Why does it have to be Until Dawn? Oh, well, it has Wendigos in it. Wendigos aren't exclusive to Until Dawn. But I could literally see someone from this movie coming out and justifying, well, you know, we have Wendigos in it and a cabin in the woods, so it had to be called Until Dawn. No, it didn't. You're just cashing in on a very popular game. You know what? Many people just think they're doing a disservice. They're going about this the wrong way. But again, I have not heard the movie is bad. I've heard the movie is quite good. I've heard it's fine. That's what's so even more frustrating. They apparently have a good movie on their hands. But let me know what you guys think about all this down in the comment section below. If you haven't already, of course, make sure you subscribe, turn on post notifications so you can never miss a video. In the description, I'll have links to all my social media accounts. I am on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. You can message me there, of course, to let me know if there are any movies, news, or reviews you'd like me to cover in the future. And with all that in mind, guys, I will see you in the next video.